Hi everyone, today's video is featuring a collection from Spellbinders called Metamorphosis. It's by Simon Hurley. I've got two sets from the collection. I've got the In Bloom and Everyday Sentiments. So I'm going to be cutting all of the elements from the In Bloom set from watercolour card to start with. I decided these florals look so lovely that I want to colour them myself rather than just use coloured cardstock. And because of the way they are, it's like a peony with the sort of different layers. I thought it would be more interesting to watercolour and then alter the, I can add my own highlights and shading that way. So to start with, I'm just die cutting everything. And then I can always go back in if I need, I might need more leaves or whatever. But I thought as a starting point, I'll just cut the whole lot. And then I can work out which bit goes with which flower, etc. So I'm going to put these into sort of order. And if I put them in piles, it's also going to help me with the colouring because obviously I'll have all the leaves together, etc. So I'm just working out which bits of which flower. There we go. And then I'm going to put them into little piles. Yep, so I've worked out what goes with what and I'm just putting them. So essentially I need one colour for the foliage, then I need a yellow for the sort of flower centres, and then all of the flower elements I can do from, I'm going to do them from pink. Now I'm moving in, I'm trying a different mat, but this isn't going to stick on here, so I need a bigger one. I'm just going to grab that. These silicone mats are great, but watercolours really mark them and you can't get it off. So it's really annoying because it's kind of the point of having a silicone mat. When you've got all the lovely wells to put your paint in, etc. But they do stain. I've got some marks on all of mine from where I've been watercolouring, so it's easier to just bring in my other mat. I tend to use these silicone mats more than anything for filming actually, because I get a real glare off my light and I've got a glass mat underneath, but that's terrible with my ring light. So I'll mention the watercolours actually. I've got two different sets here. One's quite an old, this one I'm using now is an older set from Studio Light that I've had for a few years now. But I particularly like this pinky red that's in this set. So I'm going in with more of a pink for the centre. I just want to vary up the shades really between the layers. And the other set is more pastel colours. That's a Prima set. I've brought this in, but actually I'll only end up using the yellow for the flower centres. So I'm just giving those a blast with my heat tool. And this is just one of the flowers. The thing I love about colouring with watercolour is you get the nice sort of variation in shades and colour, and if you go back in once you've dried it like I am now, you can really build up the colour but get some shade. So that's going to look nice. So I've got some nice differentiation from the layers there. So that's good. I can pop that to one side and then I'll grab the other flower. And I can do exactly the same thing. I'm using my pokey tool to hold the pieces still. So I'm going to go in and darken up. This bottom piece would definitely be darker, and then for this piece I'm kind of going around the top because that will be sort of behind the other piece, so it would be in shade. And I'm not going to touch that last piece because I want that to stay quite a light shade. It's always tricky to dry it when you've got small pieces, they fly all around the place. So I'm just working out how this one fits together to make sure I'm happy with that. But yeah, I've got some really nice variation there, and I'm just going to add even more to the bottom piece to darken that up even more. And did you notice all my leaves went flying then? That's the problem of using a heat tool when you've got tiny pieces everywhere. So that's really nice and dark. So I've got some really good variation here with the layers. So I think that's going to look really nice. So I'm finding all the bits that flew off the desk. These are the flower centres. So I'm going to come in with this. It's almost like a sort of like a sandstone colour rather than a yellow, really. It's nice and subtle. I didn't want anything too bright yellow. So this is a really nice shade, actually. I do like this watercolour set. And I think I probably will do more variations of this card. I'd quite like to do one more in pastel colours, actually. So I will probably use that set for that. These are very fiddly to dry because they're tiny, and even with the pokey tool I'm struggling to keep them under control. So that's those done, and last thing I've got is all the foliage. So I'm just going to pop these all down. Again, I've got some quite small bits here, and I'm thinking I want some extras. So I'm just going to die cut a couple of extras now so I can colour them all at the same time. So I've just cut the 3 leaves again. I might not use all of them, but while I'm watercolouring, I might as well have as many as I think I might want. And then I'm just mixing a couple of greens together here, because the greens in this studio light set, I always like an olive green, but the olive greens in this set are both still quite yellow. One of them's almost yellow and the other one isn't quite dark enough for my liking, but it's almost there. And then the other greens are very much veering towards sort of more teal. I'm terrible with watercolours. I just keep buying more and more rather than mixing my own colours. You don't want to know how many watercolour palettes I've got. So again, I've got the same old thing of these whizzing about the place. I'm sorry my camera keeps sort of going in and out. It's because of my heat tool being nearer the camera. There we go. So I like the way I've got some good variation of shade on these, because you don't want them looking flat. That's what I like about watercolouring. You get the hard edges and it just kind of gives them a bit more interest. So that's all the watercolouring done. So we'll give that a quick clean down, and then I can work out how I'm going to fit this on a card. So what card size do I want, first of all? So I'm just bringing all the pieces in. So I'm going to bring in the sentiments so that I can gauge what sort of size card front I need. And looking at these, they're a good size actually. So what I'm going to do is go with a square card, and I'm going to go with 15 centimetres by 15 centimetres, which is about 6 by 6 inches. So I've cut this piece here to be 14 by 14 centimetres, and I'm going to cut the background for the sentiments from the same colour. This looks like white card, but it's actually Carnation Crafts Blush Rose. Carnation do some lovely 250 GSM cards in these blush shades. They do Blush Natural, Blush Rose and Blush Blue, and they've just got a subtle hint of colour. So I've done that one from 14 by 14, and I'm going to go in at 14.5 by 14.5 on some glitter, gold glitter. And then I'm going to cut the top part for sentiments from the same glitter. So it's all going to tie in. And I thought a bit of gold glitter would look lovely with that pink of the flowers. So that's going to look lovely against that background. You could do it the other way around if you wanted to, and have the glitter as the background and then the cream, sort of the blush cards as the top layer. But I thought that would look really nice. So I'm just off camera trimming down my glitter card to go in the background, and making a card blank actually as well, I think. So yeah, that's just a nice, I like just a thin border with the glitter. I don't like too much glitter because it can be a bit overpowering. So I'm just going to grab a card blank and then layer these up. So I'm starting with the glitter. I'm just adding double-sided tape to the back. And I'll do the same for all the layers. I'll jump ahead so you don't have to watch me repeat this for each layer. All right, so I'm just on the last layer now. And then I can work out how to put this all together. So I'm just going to grab my pokey tool and my tweezers because these are a little bit fiddly. So I've got a pickup tool there, which I'm going to need for the little tiddle on the eye. I'm using Studio Light tacky glue. This has got a really good fine nozzle on it, so it's perfect for these fiddly little bits. So that layers on beautifully. If I put a tiny dot there, and I can put the dot on the eye. And then same for the happy. I like the font of these sentiments actually, and there's a really nice selection in this set. The thing I also like about these is they're a good size. They're quite bold, but they don't take up too much space, so they're going to work quite nicely around these florals. So before I stick anything down, I'm just going to work out the placement. Yeah. And with the leaves, I can kind of make them fit where I've got spaces. So I only need to work out where the flowers are going really. So that's going to go towards the bottom. I could have raised these up, but I really want the focus to be on the florals, and I'm going to use foam pads for those. So I've kept the sentiment flat, even though the shadow for the sentiment is literally the same colour as the background. You can still see that it's got a shadow. So I thought I'd prefer to keep it flat. So I'm going to pop the stem on with glue. Both flowers I'm going to pop onto foam pads for the bottom layer. And then I can just put those together. So for the flower at the top, this is the yellow piece that's going to go in the centre. And then the other piece goes over the top. That's kind of the inside piece. And then this is the bottom. So this is the piece, I've done this nice and dark because it's kind of underneath almost. There we go. It takes a bit of jiggling around to get the hang of this one actually, because as you can see, you want that inside piece to be showing, but you also need the bottom piece to be lined up quite well. So my advice is to use a PVA glue, so you've got that wiggle room to just play around. Once you've done it once, you work out how it fits and it's fine, but first time you do it, I would definitely recommend using a wet glue. And that's the centerpiece, and then the yellow piece for this one just slots inside there, so I can just use my pickup tool for that. So that's the florals done, and then I can work out, I may not use all of these, but I've got more than enough here now, and I can just tuck them in. And I was going to put this the other side, but I don't quite like it so much, so I'm going to go with another one of the larger ones. Just pop that there. So that's the card finished. I will show you, I did some other colours in this afterwards. I did a nice purple colourway. which I thought worked really well. And I'm definitely going to do some in pastel colours. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll put all the details in the description box below on YouTube. I'll also put all the info on my blog. So if you're interested in any of these products, you'll find links there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.